This one is from, it's a mixture, I'm kind of combining some here. Peter Buchelman and Dean Tagliatelle. One of them asks, why consequentialism as opposed to a typical deontological approach? And I think these two kind of go together. The other one says, why you think that morality is not absolute if you do. I'm not even sure if I've ever heard you state that, but maybe you could clarify right now. And there are always exceptions in how he defines morality. So, let's talk about the consequentialist versus deontological approach real quick.
I guess the basic reason to make consequentialist arguments is I think I have better arguments. That in order to persuade you that you ought not to have a minimum wage law because people have a right to make contracts with each other, which is really the moral argument, I have to somehow persuade you what rights people have. And contrary to a number of other people, I don't think I have any very good arguments for that. That I have opinions about it, I have beliefs, I have the feeling that it is immoral to forbid people to make a voluntary contract. But I don't think I have a good argument to persuade someone who says he doesn't agree with that belief. In order to persuade you on consequentialist grounds to oppose a minimum wage, I don't have to show it's evil. I only have to show that it has consequences that you disapprove of. And my impression is that although people disagree somewhat on moral issues, there's a very large overlap. And in particular, since I believe the effect of a minimum wage law is to make the poor people it's supposed to help worse off, if I can persuade you of that, and I think there are good economic arguments to think it likely that that's the case, I don't have to persuade you of any moral proposition at all, because you already believe that making poor people worse off is a bad thing. So my general claim is that our position is strong enough on consequentialist grounds so that within the range of moral beliefs people have, most people, if they agreed with our factual claims, if they agreed with our beliefs about the consequences of different institutions, most people would agree with us about which ones were better. That I haven't met any socialists who would be in favor of the kind of society that I think socialism would create over the kind of society that I think laissez-faire would create. So if that's right, then if I can only persuade them of what the consequences are of each system, I'm home free. I don't have to solve the problem of making convincing moral arguments. So do I believe in moral things? Yes, I think certain things are right and certain things are wrong. And I've done some thinking about my reasons for that belief. If you're curious, my view of where morals come from is fairly close to that of Michael Huemer, who is a libertarian professional philosopher and has written a book about it. What's called intuitionism is the term he uses. But I don't think it gives me much of a grounds for making an argument against somebody whose moral intuitions are different than mine, whereas I do think I have pretty good economic arguments. So it's basically a matter of arguing on the basis of where I think I have the strongest arguments.
All right, we're on deontological and consequentialism and all this good, moral versus subjective viewpoints. Justin Longo wants me to ask you why consequentialists who attempt to predict and then evaluate consequences believe that they are being value neutral or value free, and thus they scoff at deontological or NAP-based arguments, and as if valuing perceived positive outcomes is not a value. Do you see where he's coming from in this question?
Yeah, but he's wrong. That is to say, he's wrong in that he's misunderstanding the argument. The argument is not that you can reach ought conclusions without ought assumptions. The argument is rather that the disagreement among people is not due to their ought assumptions, but due to their is assumptions, their positive assumptions. So my claim is that if you really think that impoverishing poor people is a good thing, then I can't prove to you that minimum wages are a bad idea. But there aren't very many people who think that. So as long as there is enough agreement among people about what's good, I don't have to persuade them because I can work in terms of what they already believe. So my claim is that we can make consequentialist arguments which imply that the consequences of libertarian institutions are better in terms of the moral beliefs that most people have than the consequences of the alternatives. And having done that, I don't have to persuade people of what their moral beliefs ought to be, which is a good thing because I don't have any good arguments for doing it.
Human beings are meant to be free. Not to be free to aggress upon each other, but to be free from aggression from each other.
Of not having a fire station? Because people are afraid of not having a court system? Because people are afraid they might not have utilities? As if people aren't going to try to sell these things to you left and right once the state's monopoly is abolished. Fear, fear, fear. That is how the state survives.
30 times less murder in Somalia than in Detroit. Now, I'm not saying Somalia is a paradise by any measure.